Good day, ma'am. I am Kay De Leon Purificacion, a second-year college student taking Bachelor of Secondary Education major in English. So I am here to answer or explain each of these following questions. So for the first question, I am going to give the four conventional types of meter in English poetry and its examples as well. So the first type of meter is the iamb. The iamb is the most common or the most famous type of foot in English poetry. So it follows the rhythm of unstressed syllable followed by the stressed syllable. So it sounds like da-dum, da-dum. For example, the words above, support, hooray. So let's consider the Sonnet 18 of William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So it has the following metrical pattern, da-dum, 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 da-dum. As we can see, there is an unstressed syllable followed by the stressed syllable. So there are five of iambs here. Since penta is the prefix of five, we call this metrical form as iambic pentameter. Next one is the trochee. So trochee is just the opposite of an iamb. In iamb, the first syllable is unstressed, followed by the stressed syllable. While in trochee, we can notice that the first syllable is stressed, followed by the unstressed syllable. So the rhythm sounds like da-dum, like the words poet or father. For example, the poem of Edgar Allan Poe, which entitled as The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, Walla pondered weak and weary. So as we can see, there is the stressed syllable followed by the unstressed syllable. So the next one is the anapes. So an anapes has three syllables, unlike the iamb and trochee that has only two syllables. So it is a metrical foot that consists of two unstressed syllables followed by a stressed syllable. This sounds like da-da-dum, like the words underneath, comprehend, and understand. For example, A Visit from St. Nicholas by Clement Clarke Moore. "'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. So here we can notice that the first two syllables are unstressed and it is followed by the stressed syllable. So for the last type of meter is the dactyl. It is just the opposite of anapes. It has also a three-syllable unit like the anapest, but here, dactyl starts with a stressed and ends with two unstressed syllables. So it sounds like da-da-dum, da-da-dum. For example, the words typical, elephant, or poetry. So let's consider this another example. Evangeline, A Tale of Acady by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. This is the forest primeval, the murmuring pines and hemlocks. So again, the first syllable is stressed and it is followed by the two unstressed syllables. So now I'm going to proceed to the five types of figures of speech. So the first figure of speech that we have here is the personification. So it gives human qualities to non-living things or ideas. For instance, the kitchen knife will take a bite out of your hand if you don't handle it safely. As we all know, a kitchen knife is a non-living thing, or in other words, it has no life. So if we take this in its literal meaning, obviously a knife cannot bite like humans can do. So in this sentence, it just emphasizes something different from its literal meaning. The knife is given a human characteristic or human quality, which is the word bite, which basically means that the kitchen knife can cut your hands if you do not handle it safely. Another example is, my alarm clock yelled at me this morning. This means that the alarm clock has already alarmed. The words alarm clock yelled refers to the alarm of the clock. The persona personifies the action of the clock. Applying on this statement, the alarm clock alarmed on the set of time to inform the person that it is already time to get out of the bed. So the next one is what we call alliteration. It is the repetition of consonant sounds especially at the beginning of words. We can see or hear alliteration from advertising slogans, warnings, tongue twisters, or even catchy names like Donald Duck, SpongeBob SquarePants, and so on. For examples, Dance dog dove deep in the dam, drinking dirty water as he dove. Notice that the successive words starts with the sound D. Therefore, it's an alliteration. Moving on to one of the examples of tongue twisters, which is the Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. The consonant sound P is repeated in the successive words in the same sentence. So that's alliteration. For the third one is the simile. It is a stated comparison, usually formed with like or as, between two fundamentally dissimilar things that have certain qualities in common. For example, the clothes she wore were as white as snow. We can clearly know that the comparison is on the color. Another example is they fought like cats and dogs. We are comparing somebody who argue or who fought like cats and dogs. As we can observe, similes are always introduced by the words like or as. So the fourth one is the onomatopoeia. When we say onomatopoeia, it is the use of words that imitate the sounds associated with the objects or actions they refer to. For instance, the pigs oink as they flop in the mud. The buzzing bee flew over my head. You can hear the roar of the lions in the distance. The words oink, buzzing, and roar imitates the actual sound made by the pig, the bee, and the lions respectively. Last but not the least is the hyperbole. It is an extravagant statement. It is the use of exaggerated terms for the purpose of emphasis or heightened effect. It means an exaggerated claim that is not meant to be taken literally. For example, I walked a million miles to get here. In this sentence, there is an exaggeration of terms used because it's not possible to walk a million miles. Therefore, it's a hyperbole. Another example for this is I died of embarrassment. In this sentence, it doesn't really mean that someone died of embarrassment. You cannot die just because of an embarrassment. It just means that someone is extremely ashamed. So that is a hyperbole. So let's proceed to the elements of a plot. So as we can see in the diagram presented, there are 6 elements of a plot. Just like when you are climbing a mountain, you should start from the very bottom. We have here the exposition, conflict, climax, rising action, falling action, and the resolution of the story. So these 6 elements break down into 3 chronological segments, and each segment of the story usually has 2 elements. So for its beginning, it contains the exposition and establishes the story's conflict. In the middle, it contains the rising action and the story's climax. And for the conclusion, it contains the falling action and the resolution. So the first element is the exposition. Exposition, of course, is the beginning part of the story. It introduces the story setting, the mood, the main character, the supporting characters, and time. Character development happens during this part of the story. Next element is the conflict. From the word conflict, it is the problem, crisis, challenge, dilemma, or the obstacle presented to the main character. Next, we have the rising action. It is the sequence of solutions to the conflict that the main character tries. It is all the events leading to the turning point of the story. It can be identified by this increasing tension, emotion, difficulty, or challenge. Next is the climax. It is the peak of excitement or tension. In other words, it is the most exciting part of the story. It's the moment that the reader is waiting for. It is the moment when the story changes, which we call a turning point. The main character and the problem is resolved. So the next one is the falling action. It is all the plot points wrapping up, the consequences of the climax, and the reflection on the changes in the main character. It can be identified by the decreasing tension, an approaching of resolution, and relaxation of emotion. And for the last element of a plot is what we call the resolution of a story. The resolution is the plot's end, whether the resolution is a happy ending or sad ending, fun or frightening, satisfying or unsatisfying. The resolution might tie up loose ends or leave important elements of the story unresolved. This is also the part where you're gonna read piece of literature telling you the line, they lived happily ever after. So that would be all, ma'am. Thank you for listening.